How has technology changed training?
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. Well, for us over here in kind of Leicestershire Fire and Rescue, we've looked into the use of virtual reality training. If I use it for example, virtual reality for fire investigation training. Our training at present, we dress an ISO container, we set a fire, we kind of extinguish the fire, and then we'll run perhaps 15, 16 courses of a dozen people, dozen firefighters through that scene to do the investigation, to gain some knowledge and understanding experience of fire investigation. The only downside is, as we all know with fire investigation, you need to be able to work from the area of the least damage to the area of most damage, removing items to help you with your investigation. If course one removes all the items, all the other courses haven't got a scene to investigate. So the course has a kind of a problem there. It's a look but not touch. So what we've done, we've done the ISO burn, and then we've recreated basically like a digital twin. We've gone in and not scanned it. We've used a technique called photogrammetry. So we take literally hundreds and hundreds of photos of that scene and then build the scene back up in the virtual world. And then we take every item out and 3D scan it. So you've got a 3D model, and we put it back. And when it's all finished, they knit it all together. We leave the ISO container so they can still use that for training. But what we have now, we've recreated that in the virtual world, so we can then put all our firefighters, fire investigation officers, managers through a scene which will be the same for every single participant. You'll have the ability to go into that scene, remove items, take photographs. You've got a virtual dictaphone to take notes so you can look at to do a report later. And when you come up with your hypothesis, the conclusion, how the fire started, the facilitator then can press the button which resets the scene. Everything goes back to where it was for the next candidate to come in to follow the training. So you're getting high quality, repeatable training. And the beauty of this is it's safe. It's in a sterile environment, so there's no form, kind of health and safety wise. There should be nothing other than a possible trip over your own feet because it's a sterile environment. No form of contamination, as when we go into a fire scene, if we don't wear the right respiratory equipment, and that there's a chance we can kind of breathe in toxins, carcinogenics for what may kind of affect our health 10, 15, 20 years down the line. This form of training gives us a sterile environment. To me, it's the way forward. We will build a library of different investigations. So we'll have some for training, we'll have some for assessment. And what we're hoping is that other services in the UK will buy into this system, not financially, but with the right thought process, and take this up. And what we could do then, if the more services we take it up, we can standardise our fire investigation training nationally. It's something which can be used in any country in the world because fire investigation is exactly the same. We look to the company we work with to develop this. We look to make it as realistic as possible. So when the fire's been kind of extinguished, we actually put a fire dog in, hydrocarbon dog, to have a look round. So if in your investigation you say, "Oh, I want to get the fire dog in to kind of discount any ignitable liquids," the dog will come in and it will give you yes or no whether it identifies an area for further investigation. And once that training is finished, whether you're being assessed or it's just a kind of familiarization, you have the ability then to watch the fire in its initial stages, how it was ignited, how it developed and spread, to see if your hypothesis is correct. That's how we're using virtuality at the moment, in such a simple but very, very effective way. The training could be one-to-one. It could be in the same building. It doesn't have to be. We could be remote. The trainee could be in one station. I could be at our headquarters, and I can kind of, through the system, I could be in the scene with him as an instructor or a mentor, and let them talk me through what they're doing, or I could talk them through what they should be doing. So the ability to use this type of system, I think it far outweighs the old system, the old kind of burning of an ISO container. I think we still need to go into an ISO container and do the burns, a kind of real burn, whether it's a real scene where we're shadowing a kind of fire investigation officer. But it's about, to me, it's not taking away our old training. it's improving it by using the virtual world and the real world, put the two together in a blended approach. So you learn as much as you can in the virtual world, and then you'll shadow a fire investigation officer out on a real incident to kind of put what you've learned into practice. That's how I see virtual reality kind of coming into the UK's fire service. There are other ways of using virtual reality. There's a company out of Australia, Flame, who've got some fantastic equipment. You'll put a fire kit on, which has got an inbuilt heat piece in the jacket, like a heat suit. So when you get closer to the fire, you actually warm up. You've got they add a tracker to a hose or a line with a nozzle on, and so in the virtual world, which doesn't exist, you see the hose on the floor, and you could pick an actual hose and nozzle up. And when you open the nozzle, you get jet reaction because it's connected to a pulley, so it actually will pull you backwards if you haven't taken the correct stance. You can go up to a door and do your proper door entry procedures. If you don't do it correctly, the fire will react how it would when you open the door. It is kind of virtual, so the water's virtual, but you have the ability to go from a jet to a spray to a cone. And again, likewise, the fire will react differently to how you put the water on the fire. So the training in the virtual world it's coming. I think it's in its early stage, it's in its infancy, but the massive potential it'll have to assist on training. Logistically, it can save people actually going from a fire station or firehouse to a training department, because it'll come to them. It comes in a small box, so it will come to them, and the instructor could stay at the training centre. So logistically, it's far, far better. So financially, there's a saving. Initially, there's a cost because you've got to film everything and recreate it. But once it's recreated, it's there forever, and it can be shared kind of multiple times into any country. I'll let you have a say, Scott, because I will just go on and on and on.
Thank you, Paul. To me, technology has been a constant in the fire service. We've always heard this: the fire service is, 200 years unencumbered by change. But just thinking back in my career, 30 years ago, I remember having sirens on a roof that would tell firefighters when there was a call and to go to the fire station. And then we went through the Plectron era, the alphanumeric pager era, and now we have applications on our phone that can tell us everything we need to know about a building before we even go to a call. So we have the ability to do a lot more advanced training at that level. And we know at the three levels of operations, the task, tactical, and strategic level, those drive everything we do in the fire service. So technology allows us to capitalize on our people and our time. To Steve's point, where we draw the line. I'm a special operations chief, and I like to say that if it's not fire and it's not EMS, it's special operations. So I have 11 special teams and groups that are things like air crash training, wildland, SWAT medics, technical rescue, dive rescue, those types of things. And it is an extreme challenge to fit in not only the regular fire and EMS training we do, but the special operations training that we do. And to Chris's point, one of the things that I've found that's been helpful is hybrid training and breaking down the walls between the different divisions and bureaus in the organization. So EMS working with fire and special operations to put on a training that crosses the spectrum of those three is critical. To me, technology has revolutionized what we do in the fire service, especially here with COVID. Everybody's familiar with Microsoft Teams now. Well, 4 years ago, if I had tried to ask people when I was online as a battalion chief to get on a Teams meeting, they have no idea what I was talking about. And now we can have meetings across all 30 of our stations at the same time, or I can talk to my 15 direct reports at the same time. So it's not only those daily meetings, it's the virtual incident command training, to speak to what some of the other colleagues have already talked about. A lot of you have probably heard of Blue Card. We utilize Blue Card in the department. That not only helps at the chief level with incident command, it helps down at the firefighter level. We have so many people, we're hiring 60 people a year, and putting them through virtual training at the firefighter level helps them understand a lot more about the why before they get back on the fire ground and practice evolution. So they all go through the fire academy, and during COVID, we had people that had to get a lot of their didactic training separated from each other due to COVID, and they would come together and do the hands-on drills and training. So it really has helped in a lot of those areas. We're able to deliver content at a greater rate with more detail. And to some of what Chris touched on, and Stephen, is how much detail is too much. Well, to me, I understand that we can certainly overload our people, and we need to be proficient in everything. I think that lies in the levels of training. So Target Solutions is an example of an application that a lot of people use here in the American Fire Service. So we can send out Target Solutions videos to get the initial awareness operations stuff going, and then we'll go to the training center where the rubber meets the road. That's truly where we put everything into play, whether it's full alarm assignments for multi-company evolutions, or it is simply one or two companies going down and doing some training. But we have the ability to do that, and it translates to more efficiency and effectiveness. But we have to use a hybrid model that takes the virtual reality that Christopher was talking about and also speaks to the other areas of training that we've done in the past. We can't let go of our roots with how that happens, and we have to help the people who thrive on this type of technology learn that way. We can't be the ones to say, well, we've never done it that way before, it's not going to work. If we want to capture all of these new firefighters that are coming in, we have to be able to meet them halfway with the technology that they're comfortable with, so that they learn in a safe environment and we set them up for success.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, I think you kind of, in my eyes, the virtual world gives us the opportunity to train people in dangerous situations, which is risk-free. They learn the procedure, and then when they got the procedure right, we then expose them to the real life, to kind of danger. The procedures right, the training becomes more beneficial. They can make the mistakes in the virtual world. No one gets hurt, no one gets injured, no one's on the sick. And when they get the procedures right, then we expose them for real. It's that blended approach. VR will never overtake what we do. We still need to put breathing apparatus on and go into fires and learn kind of heat, exposure to heat and humidity. So I think it's a blended approach. And as Scott said, I think with the young new firefighters coming in, they're aware of this technology. They're using it on the PlayStations and their Xboxes. We've done training events here, and the young firefighters just put the headsets on. They know exactly what they're doing. But what surprised me the most is there's a couple of people who I thought would be very anti-virtual reality, anti kind of emerging technologies, because they've been in the service similar to me 32 years. And we love the old-fashioned methods of training. We're possibly classed as dinosaurs, because we like the old methods, but we've embraced this new technology. And we've had one firefighter who I thought would turn around and just say, this is not for me, this is not any good. He took the headset off, and I've never seen anyone with such a big smile. And he said, that is the best training I've had. He said, I am a visual learner. And he said, that works for me. But he did say, I still need to go out and do it for real, but I can learn in that environment, because it puts you in the environment. There's a 75% retention rate in VR. So it gives you kind of a really good flavor of what to expect. And we're just touching on, kind of scratching the top of the iceberg. This could be used in any aspect of the fire service, to learn and train.
And Paul, I'd actually love to chat after this at some point, because what we've been talking about at Op Central is, given we'll be capturing incident history throughout the world, is actually using AI to come up with different incident scenarios based on a mashup where you actually have kind of a rich incident data behind you. I can see that working really well with VR. So let's have a chat.
Yeah, well, I'll put a note here, because I'm not sure we're coming to the end of our time. But this says just a thought to leave you with is AI and robotics. Just a thought. Where will we be 20, 30, 50 years time? Yeah.
Thank you both.